right now the boating industry is kind of in a spot where I don't see as many new people or younger people getting into it in such bigger like groups that I think I did when I was, getting into it. What being from somebody, because you went from running off with the John boat to then becoming the CEO of a big company in the marine space. What would you suggest someone do if they were younger and wanted to get into the industry?
There's a lot of years in between there, but uh, I think for me, and I hope we put a lot of time, in our life where we work, and I think it's important that you follow your
Yeah.
passion, do something you believe in, with a company you believe in, with people you believe in. So I would say, if you are passionate about boating, get into the industry, but don't just pick a job with any company just to get in. It's important you find the right company that
Mhm.
aligns with you, your values, your culture. Because I often see really great people that make poor career choices, just for need of a job or just because they want to get it. That, in some ways you end up being defined by that. So I'd say follow your passion, get in, but make sure that you're getting in with a company and a product that you believe in.
Yeah.
And, I think overall this is general, whether it's in marine or anywhere, it's just work hard, ethic, drive. And,
Mhm.
I would say most point, like, you make a lot of decisions at work, right? You don't want to have to go to your boss for everyone, and make the decision as if you own the company. What would you want your employee to do? And, I think if you do that, you often make decisions that align, hopefully, with the owner, the right decisions, and you work hard and drive, and you get to do your passion mixed with your profession, and yeah, not sure you then call it work. It's what you do, not work.
Yeah, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, I guess is the old adage that people say. So Seakeeper, I find it funny because I'm trying to think of a link here on like whenever people talk about stabilization and other things, like Seakeepers like what they say now. It's like become a noun where what is it? Hot tubs, everybody calls them jacuzzis, which jacuzzi is like a brand, but if you say, hey, let's go get in the hot tub, hey, let's go get in the jacuzzi, it's like a noun, but it's a brand name. And I think Seakeeper has really captured that, uh, being anything that people talk about stabilization or gyros, they use Seakeeper as, hey, does that boat have a Seakeeper? Or, they don't say, does it have a gyro? Which I find pretty interesting. How did you guys intend to do that, or that just kind of came about because you're pretty much like the king of the space?
Well, yeah, the Kleenex, it's probably what I'm most proud of is we have amazing products, but to me, most importantly, we built an amazing brand.
Mhm.
But this is something that we worked really hard to build a category. As I said before, we were probably the only ones that believed in it in the world, especially 2008.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to come out with a better mousetrap than it is to come out with a transformational category and create a new category,
Yeah.
because everything that you are doing is new. And you take a lot of risk in doing it. It's a lot of cost in doing it. And ultimately, if you're successful and you create that, you should own the category.
Mhm.
So for us, that was important early on, that we were a Seakeeper. It wasn't a gyro, it was a Seakeeper.
Yeah.
And you see that today. So it's part of it was our intent. But I think it also goes with the awesome brand that we built. And, it's been fantastic, for us. I think it makes it difficult for future competitors, made it difficult for Kelsey because when you thought of Seakeeper, right, it was like this brand. Now all of a sudden we have Seakeeper Ride. But at the end of the day, like I said, it is something we push really hard and something that we're really proud of.
So what about gyro? Let's talk about the gyros for a little bit, or let's just call it Seakeeper. So really, what we're talking about counteracting the motion of a boat, like the natural motion of a boat in the water. It kind of like, I mean, the boat's just getting tossed about realistically in the water.
Yeah.
So could you kind of explain a little bit into the physics of it? How does it counter all these things? Because I know you've got like a lot of people, you talk about the yaw and the roll and the pitch and like all these things. Could you go into that kind of like how it works in a way?
Yeah, for sure. And probably good to say, when people think of Seakeepers, right, they think of this new technology.
Hmm.
And the way that we are doing it right, is new in every single way. But really, we took a technology that had languished. It was over 100 years old, which was gyroscopes on really large transliners. These were 13 foot in diameter, 100 tons, but they were very effective at reducing roll motions. But they were too big, too heavy, and required too much power.
Yeah.
And what we did is say, all right, we have to make it smaller, we have to make it lighter, less power, and to do all that, you have to spin it faster. And the first breakthrough was putting it inside a vacuum encapsulation. So
Hmm.
we have this vacuum encapsulation inside a flywheel spinning at up to approximately 10,000 RPM.
Wow.
And when the boat rolls, the natural physics, it tilts fore and aft. In doing so, it's producing a gyroscopic torque to port and starboard to counter that boat roll.
Hmm.
And I think the easiest way to think about it, if you did, kind of think back to high school and science class, you would spin a bicycle wheel and you'd move the wheel and it would resist. So same concept, but we're just doing it, of course, on a much bigger scale at much higher speeds to create a lot more torque.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna ask about the go back to the power consumption, and like you said, like that's kind of the, yeah, one, it's too big, and then two, it requires so much power, kind of like what electric has right now, with the issue of everybody, a lot of companies wanting to go to the electrification of the engines. But like, you could make a 500 horsepower electric outboard, but the amount of batteries and power that you're going to need to power that is not realistic. So how did you get, so what is the power consumption of that? Like, if you run the Seakeeper, how much power do you really need to have in order to get, because I mean 10,000 on RPM, that's a fast spinning flywheel.
Well, it varies a lot, but I'll say just putting in the vacuum encapsulation, we cut power by, more than two thirds.
Mm.
And you would never be able to spin at the speeds that we do, without having that vacuum encapsulation.
Hey there, sorry to take you away from the video, but real quick, did you know that on average a boat owner will spend between $1,000 and $5,000 a year just on servicing their engine? And you could actually pocket and save a lot of that money if you would just do the service yourself. It might seem like a daunting task, but I guarantee you virtually everyone can do it with our guidance and the Boaters program. This is just one skill that you could learn inside the program, because we have hundreds of other videos teaching you all kinds of boating skills, as well as a weekly live stream where we have questions and answers with me, as well as a chat feature where you can send videos and pictures, ask all kinds of questions, or look for some advice or some guidance on a project that you're doing on your boat. You can join the program by hitting the first link in the description, clicking join, or visiting bornagainboating.com. Now back to the video.